Respected brothers, respected sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أنطقني بالهدى وألهمني التقوى ووفقني للتي هي أزكى اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفكلما جاءكم رسول بما لا تهوى أنفسكم استكبرتم. Is it not that whenever an apostle brought to you that which is not to your liking, you become arrogant? Make it fun or they will run. Throughout human history, the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the apostles, the anbiya, the mursaleen, the awsiya, have been shunned away by the majority of their people for one main reason, is that their messages were not correspondent to the liking and desires of these people. In general, an average human being does not hate to be guided to the truth. But when the truth means that they have to let go of certain freedoms and certain desires, this is where the truth becomes their enemy. One of the main reasons for this, my dears, is that people in general and throughout the course of human history have always had the wrong perception of the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life for most people? The purpose of life for most people can be summarized, can be depicted through the following slogans. Slogan number one, you only live once, so enjoy the ride. The bottom line is to have fun and to enjoy life. If it isn't fun, then you're not doing it right. These are slogans that depict how people in general perceive life. It is a resort. It is a vacation spot. It is a place of comfort. Hence, their expectations of anything in life changes. When a prophet or a messenger comes to them with a message, if that message does not cater to their expectation of fun and entertainment and relaxation and comfort, they will not respond positively to that message. Now, in this day and age, and with the advancements, the rapid advancement of technology and social media, where everything has become easy to access, this very wrong perception of the purpose of life has become even more dominant and more prevalent, such that it penetrated our religious communities. To the extent that we have been witnessing in the past 2 decades, many of our religious institutions have changed their ways, changed their strategies to meet that purpose. What do I mean by that? Let me be a little bit more clear. With good intentions, with good motives, many of our religious institutions, especially in the West, have fallen for this perception, of course, again, with good intentions and unknowingly, such that they consider the main purpose or goal, or they gauge their success through the metrics of the quantity of congregants and attendees. The more congregants we have, the more success we have. So therefore, to meet that number, we have to sell them products that they like. And this is where it becomes a problem. Religious institutions are not meant to be places of entertainment. They are places of worship. And as we always say that Islam is not against entertainment, Islam is not against fun, but that needs to be like salt to food, especially in religious institutions. But when it becomes an integral element in the programming of our religious institutions, then we have a problem. Because now we are setting the minds of our youth and future generations to have different expectations from Islamic centers. If it is not fun, I will run, meaning I won't come, I won't attend. You may find a youth that has the energy to play for 2 hours, a game, a sport, whatever it may be, or just hang out and talk, but does not have the energy to sit for a 20-minute educational class or lecture. You advertise a program that is fully educational or solely educational and spiritual, the response is very little. But as soon as you advertise a program that has a fun component, then you have much more people that respond to it. Where is the problem? And as religious institutions, we have contributed to this unknowingly, as I mentioned in the beginning. And we're not doubting anybody's intention. Inshallah, everyone who runs these religious institutions has the best of intentions to attract more people to Islam, attract more people to religiosity. We all love our children and grandchildren, and we want to bring them to our centers. We want them to stay. So therefore, we offer them something that is a little bit entertaining so that they continue to come. But when that fun component and entertainment component becomes the major goal, becomes an integral component of our programming, then that would set us up for failure in the future. In fact, it will jeopardize our future generations. Why? Because they will be in the mindset and the expectation that these centers include or incorporate entertainment, and if they don't for some reason, then they are not the right centers that we need to be in. And this is something that we have to reflect on, my dears. Our youth, our elders, all ages and all segments of society are meant by this type of conversation. We have to think about this outside of our comfort level, outside of our biases, our emotions, and certain feelings and desires. This is a serious matter. A student who wishes to go to the medical school has to sit for an exam known as the MCATs, the Medical College Admission Test. Or a student that wishes to go to law school, they have to sit for the Law School Admission Test, also known as, is it LSAT? LSAT. I think the bar exam comes later, right? Yeah, LSAT. Anyhow, so those people that attend these examinations know very well that they're not expecting anything fun in them, right? We have several doctors, we have several lawyers, and they know that these exams are not fun. They are not entertaining in any way, shape, or form. They go and they know this is a serious matter. My dear, religion is even more serious. Religion constitutes and shapes our everlasting future. So it should not be taken lightly. It should not be considered to be a playground. The center has to be a playground. The center has to have a lot of things that are attracting and appealing. And centers begin to compete with one another as who can attract more of the youth and who can attract more of the attendees. And it becomes a quantity versus quality. And when we examine the history of the prophets and messengers from day one, we find that their concern was the quality of people and not the quantity of people. 950 years. Nuh ala nabina wa alihi wa alihi alaf tahiyyati was salam, preaching day and night. And in the end, his accomplishment was 100 and so people that embarked with him in the ark. Thousands and 10,000s of people did not join. Yes, it would have been great if they all joined, but Nuh was not offering them any entertainment. Nuh was not offering them any fun components. Nuh was merely asking them to come to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So religious in and of its nature is serious. Religion in nature is a serious matter. It's not a matter that is based on entertainment and based on fun. So this, my dears, is something that we have to consider. The verse that I recited in the beginning of the lecture, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to Bani Israel. Banu Israel are the children of Yaqub alayhi salam and the grandchildren of Yaqub. The tribes that originate from the 12 children of Prophet Yaqub, son of Prophet Ishaq, son of Prophet Ibrahim, ala nabina wa alihi wa alayhim alafu tahiyyati was salam. When Banu Israel became large tribes and prophets were sent from among them, they began to rebel. They became rebellious. After they were oppressed, they became oppressors themselves. And today we see how some of those who claim to be from Banu Israel are treating the innocent people in Gaza as they are committing genocide, atrocities on a daily basis, while the global community stands without anything that they can do about it other than condemn. And what we can do, of course, here on our level is to make dua for them and to contribute as much as we can. And in these nights, we want to continue to pray with sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lift this suffering and oppression of our respected brothers and sisters in Gaza and other places who are in oppression. So Banu Israel, after being oppressed by the pharaohs, have become oppressors themselves. And what they have started to do is whenever a messenger comes to them, when he preaches to them that which is not correspondent to their comfort level and liking, they become arrogant and they go and they would kill that prophet. Thousands, according to some riwayat. And if we don't want to go to the number 1,000, let's stick with hundreds. Hundreds of the Anbiya, Mursaleen from Bani Israel that were sent to them were killed, were beheaded. We know the examples of Yahya, for example. Yahya, son of Zakaria, ala nabina wa alihi wa alayhima alafu tahiyyati wassalam. So here the verse says that أَفَكُلَّمَا جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ بِمَا لَا تَهْوَى أَنفُسُكُمْ تَهْوَى أَنفُسُكُمْ. That which your souls, that which your carnal desires, that which your ego desires. Hence, one way to gauge our real religiosity is by seeing how much we respond to religious teachings. Am I the type of person who, when I sit in front of a mimbar, in front of a speaker, or when I read a book, or when I read the Holy Quran, or read a hadith, I become pleased if the idea conforms with my interests and with my desires. And as soon as this doesn't, I have this unpleasant feeling. Why is this like that? Well, this speaker doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, sometimes this is objective. Maybe the speaker, because they're not infallible, they said something that is truly not right. And you have the right to say, you know what, this doesn't sound right. But oftentimes that's not the case. Oftentimes it is ma la tahwa anfusukum. It's the hawa of the nafs. You're making religion difficult. Religion is not supposed to be like that. Who decides how religion is supposed to be? Who's the one that tailors religion and shapes religion? Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we don't have communication directly with Allah. So we have the Holy Quran and we have the infallibles alayhim salam. Now the infallibles are not amongst us today. The infallible that is living today is in occultation. We don't have access to him. So who do we have? We have the grand ulama, the grand jurists. And we resort to those who we trust are pious, righteous, and knowledgeable to understand what the Quran wants from us and what the Ahlul Bayt want from us. So when they tell us, look, this is what Islam appears to be and this is what needs to be implemented, we don't have another option. We don't have an option but to obey, but to submit. And when we start to feel within ourselves that, you know what, no, I don't like this. This doesn't sound like it's fun. Again, we go back to the perception that we have of life. Life is not a place of comfort. Yes, there is a level of comfort. Yes, there is a level of fun. But like I said, salt to food. How much salt do you add to food? Not much. Likewise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Mulk clearly says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. Blessed is he in whose hands is all sovereignty, and he has power over all things. He who created death and life, that he may test you, to see which of you is best in conduct, and he is the Almighty and the All-Forgiven. This excessive interest in making our programming always enjoyable and entertaining would really jeopardize the future generations, my dear, as I have mentioned. And we may, God forbid, reach a point where we would have to compromise certain values because we want to meet the expectations of our audience. We become like companies that sell products. And in order to make sure the products always sell, then we may have to compromise. And this is the dangerous parts. It may start with good intentions. Let's make it fun here, enjoyable there. And again, there's nothing wrong with that to an extent. But when it becomes the main focus, this is where we are jeopardizing our future and the future of our religion, especially in this country, amidst all these challenges that we are facing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us through His verses and through the prophets and through the awsiya and through many of the texts and legacies that we have from the Aimma alayhim as-salam to continuously be alert and vigilant to the plots of shaitan. Inna ash-shaytana lakum adu fattakhiduhu aduwa. Verily shaitan, Satan, is your enemy, so take him as an enemy. In other words, don't feel immune and safeguarded from the plots of Satan. Satan can come to you in the image, in the face of a very caring person. He didn't go to Adam and say, Adam, assalamu alaikum, I am Satan, your enemy, I have an advice to give you. You think Adam would have listened to him? Of course not. He came to him in the face and in the image of a righteous person. And he said to him, I am very keen on your interests. Inni laka min al-nasihin. I have a very good advice for you. What is your advice, oh, that person? Who of course you didn't know was Satan. He says there's this tree that God told you not to eat from. If you want to be eternal and not ever die, all you have to do is eat a little bit of that tree. And he says to him, Wallahi billahi tallahi. He gave him a very strong qasam. And Adam alayhi salam, being new to existence, new to reality, had never thought, and it never had crossed his mind that someone would use the name of Allah and lie. He said, there's no way this person could be lying. But you may ask, well, didn't Allah warn him and say to him, be careful not to eat from that tree? And we have to keep in mind, as human beings, these reminders are not always present in our minds, especially when they are combated by a very different level of affection. When Satan came, think of this example. You know between you and yourself that something is wrong, for example, or something you should not do. But in a specific moment when you are surrounded by someone who acts like a magician, someone who basically makes you buy into the idea, you may for that second forget the reminder that you had. So there, Adam was mesmerized by this advice. This person is saying, Wallahi, if you eat from this tree, you'll be eternal. And by nature, every human being is created to what? To long for eternity. Hence, we don't like to die because we perceive death as the end of life. Whereas, as believers, we know it is not the end of life. Rather, it is a transition to a higher realm and a higher level of life. We were created to live eternal and not to die. And therefore, when Adam heard this, he fell for it and he ate from that tree. And likewise, my dears, you may see ideas here and there floating on social media in the name of protecting our identity, in the name of protecting our youth and our Islamic centers. We need to let go of this, let go of that. And little by little, we find that we have lost our values, compromised our principles, and lost everything altogether. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us protected from the plots of Iblis, the plots of Satans, the Satans of the ins and the Satans of the jinn. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our youth, our family, our Muslim generations in this country, in the West, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our hearts firm on the faith. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Muqallib al-Qulub, ثبت قلبي على دينك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Al-Fatiha for all of your marhumin along with the loud salawat.